Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on when you're tuning in. We're continuing on with the book of Ecclesiastes. I can't say it right. I'm not really sure why. I've done a couple of retakes on this, but oh well, we're just going to keep going. Before we start the next chapter, our prayer. As I read and receive your word, may it deeply be rooted in me, so when difficulty comes, it will be your word that encourages and strengthens me. Amen. Chapter 5. The importance of fearing God. As you enter the house of God, keep your ears open and your mouth shut. Don't be a fool who doesn't realize that mindless offerings to God are evil. And don't make rash promises to God, for He is in heaven, and you are only here on earth. So let your words be few. Just as being too busy gives you nightmares, being a fool makes you a blabbermouth. So when you make a promise to God, don't delay in following through, for God takes no pleasure in fools. Keep all the promises you make to Him. It is better to say nothing than to promise something that you don't follow through on. In such cases, your mouth is making you sin. And don't defend yourself by telling the temple messenger that the promise you made was a mistake. That would make God angry, and He might wipe out everything you have achieved. Dreaming all the time instead of working is foolishness, and there is ruin in a flood of empty words. Fear God instead. The futility of wealth. If you see a poor person being oppressed by the powerful and justice being miscarried throughout the land, don't be surprised. For every official is under orders from higher up, and matters of justice only get lost in red tape and bureaucracy. Even the king milks the land for his own profit. Those who love money will never have enough. How absurd to think that wealth brings true happiness. The more you have, the more people come to help you spend it. So what is the advantage of wealth except perhaps to watch it run through your fingers? People who work hard sleep well, whether they eat little or much, but the rich are always worrying and seldom get a good night's sleep. There is another serious problem I have seen in the world. Riches are sometimes hoarded to the harm of the saver, or they are put into risky investments that turn sour and everything is lost. In the end, there is nothing left to pass on to one's children. People who live only for wealth come to the end of their lives as naked and empty-handed as on the day they were born. And this, too, is a very serious problem. As people come into this world, so they depart. All their hard work is for nothing. They have been working for the wind, and everything will be swept away. Throughout their lives, they live under a cloud, frustrated, discouraged, and angry. Even so, I have noticed one thing, at least that is good. It is good for people to eat well, drink a good glass of wine, and enjoy their work. Whatever they do under the sun, for however long God lets them live, and it is a good thing to receive wealth from God and the good health to enjoy it. To enjoy your work and accept your lot in life. That is indeed a gift from God. People who do this rarely look with sorrow on the past, for God has given them reasons for joy. Chapter 6. There is another serious tragedy. Just looking to see how many I have seen in our world. God gives great wealth and honor to some people and gives them everything they could ever want. But then He doesn't give them the health to enjoy it. They die and others get it all. This is meaningless, a sickening tragedy. A man might have 100 children and live to be very old, but if he finds no satisfaction in life and in the end does not even get a decent burial, I say he would have been better off born dead. I realize that his birth would have been meaningless and ended in darkness. He wouldn't even have had a name, and he would never have seen the sun or known of its existence. Yet he would have had more peace than he has in growing up to be an unhappy man. He might live 1,000 years twice over, but not find contentment. And since he must die like everyone else, well, what's the use? All people spend their lives scratching for food, but they never seem to have enough. Considering this, do wise people really have any advantage over fools? Do poor people gain anything by being wise and knowing how to act in front of others? Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Just dreaming about nice things is meaningless. It is like chasing the wind. The future, determined and unknown. Everything has already been decided. It was known long ago what each person would be. So there's no use arguing with God about your destiny. The more words you speak, the less they mean. So why overdo it? In a few days of our empty lives, who knows how our days can best be spent? And who can tell what will happen if the future after we are gone? Chapter 7, Wisdom for Life. A good reputation is more valuable than the most expensive perfume. In the same way, the day you die is better than the day you were born. It is better to spend your time at funerals than at festivals. For you are going to die, and you should think about it while there is still time. Sorrow is better than laughter, for sadness has a refining influence on us. A wise person thinks much about death, while the fool thinks only about having a good time now. It is better to be criticized by a wise person than to be praised by a fool. Indeed, a fool's laughter is quickly gone. Like thorns crackling in a fire, there is also meaningless. This also is meaningless. Jeez. Extortion turns wise people into fools, and bribes corrupt the heart. Finishing is better than starting. Patience is better than pride. Don't be quick-tempered, for anger is in the friend of fools. Don't long for the good old days, for you don't know whether they were any better than today. Being wise is as good as being rich. In fact, it is better. Wisdom or money can get you almost anything, but it's important to know that only wisdom can save your life. Notice the way God does things, then fall into line. Don't fight the ways of God, for who can straighten out what He has made crooked? Enjoy prosperity while you can, but when hard times strike, realize that both come from God. That way you will realize that nothing is certain in His life. The limits of human wisdom. In this meaningless life, I have seen everything, including the fact that some good people die young, and some wicked people live on and on. So don't be too good or too wise. Why destroy yourself? On the other hand, don't be too wicked either. Don't be a fool. Why should you die before your time? So try to walk a middle course, but those who fear God will succeed either way. A wise person is stronger than the 10 leading citizens of a town. There is not a single person in all the earth who is always good and never sins. Don't eavesdrop on others. You may hear your servant laughing at you. For you know how often you yourself have laughed at others. All along I have tried my best to let wisdom guide my thoughts and actions. I said to myself, I am determined to be wise, but it didn't really work. Wisdom is always distant and very difficult to find. I searched everywhere, determined to find wisdom and to understand the reason for things. I was determined to prove to myself that wickedness is stupid and that foolishness is madness. I discovered that a seductive woman is more bitter than death. Her passion is a trap, and her soft hands will bind you. Those who please God will escape from her, but sinners will be caught in her snare. This is my conclusion, says the teacher. I came to this result after looking into the matter from every possible angle. Just 1 out of every 1,000 men I interview can be said to be upright, but not one woman. I discovered that God created people to be upright, but they have each turned to follow their own downward path. Chapter 8. How wonderful to be wise, to be able to analyze and interpret things. Wisdom lights up a person's face, softening its hardness. Obedience to the king. Obey the king because you have vowed before God to do this. Don't try to avoid doing your duty, and don't take a stand with those who plot evil. For the king will punish those who disobey him. The king's command is backed by a great power. No one can resist or question it. Those who obey him will not be punished. Those who are wise will find a time and a way to do what is right. Yet there is a time and a way for everything, even as people's troubles lie heavily upon them. Indeed, how can people avoid what they don't know is going to happen? None of us can hold back our spirit from departing. None of us has the power to prevent the day of our death. There is no escaping that obligation, that dark battle. And in the face of death, wickedness will certainly not rescue those who practice it. The wicked and the righteous. I have thought deeply about all that goes on here in the world, where people have the power to hurt each other. I have seen wicked people buried with honor, How strange that they were the very ones who frequented the temple and are praised in the very city where they committed their crimes. When a crime is not punished, people feel it is safe to do wrong. But even though a person sins 100 times and still lives a long time, I know that those who fear God will be better off. The wicked will never live long, good lives, for they do not fear God. Their days will never go along like the evening shadows. And this is not all that is meaningless in our world. In this life, good people are often treated as though they were wicked, and wicked people are often treated as though they were good. This is so meaningless. So I recommend having fun, because there is nothing better for people to do in this world than to eat, drink, and enjoy life. That way they will experience some happiness along with the hard work God gives them. In my search for wisdom, I try to observe everything that goes on all across the earth. I discovered that there is ceaseless activity day and night. This reminded me that no one can discover everything God has created in our world, no matter how hard they work at it. Not even the wisest people know everything, even if they say they do. Well, thank you for joining me tonight. I'm just going to go 11 minutes. We only got 4 more chapters in Ecclesiastes. It's going to trip me up. And then we go on to the next book after that. So we might have 2 books tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, hope you have a great day and a blessed day whenever you're listening to this. And until tomorrow, bye.